10 years ago, September 11th, 2001, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by terrorists who despise the American way of life. The victims of these cowardly attacks on New York City, the Pentagon, and the crash of Flight 93 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, were not enlisted servicemen. They were innocent men, women, and children. Over 3,000 victims died on that fateful day. The victims weren't limited to the attacks, as a number of Twin Tower first responders and cleanup volunteers developed illnesses and passed. September 11th was this generation's "what were you doing when" moment, much like the previous generation when President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. The country, in a state of shock, came screeching to a halt. This included drag racing. The national event scheduled for Reading, Pennsylvania, was postponed until later in the month. Greg Anderson was planning to test his Pro Stocker on September 11th at Maryland International Raceway in Budds Creek, Maryland, just 1 hour outside of Washington, D.C.
I was actually in Budds Creek, Maryland, testing. I had my family with. I had my wife and my young son with, and left for the racetrack really early that morning, and all of a sudden you had traffic jams everywhere. You had cops all over the streets. Had no idea what was going on. We showed up at the racetrack to test, and then you start hearing all over the radio what was going on. It was just, it was crazy. You didn't know how to think. You didn't know what you should be doing. You didn't know it was the end of the world. You know, to be honest with you, or the end of civilization as we know it, or our life as we know it, our freedom as we know it. So you didn't know how to act, and obviously it was a tough deal, pill to swallow and get over. But I don't know. It's just a real wake-up call.
Roy Johnson, engine builder for his son Alan's Pro Stocker, remembers the way he felt when President Kennedy was assassinated. The attacks of September 11th left him with a similar feeling.
It was a bad thing for that area, and you thought you just kind of go numb, I guess you might say. It just kind of, you can't believe that's happening, kind of thing. Or for me, that's the way I felt. Is this really happening, or is somebody just telling me, you know? It took a few days for it to really come out what happened.
Bill Miller believes 9/11 woke up the patriotism for many Americans. Miller, who is known for his pro-American advertisements in many publications.
But you realize that even as isolated as the United States is geographically, that you are completely wide open to any attack of this particular kind. And, you know, we've enjoyed the luxury of, you know, not having, you know, a foreign nation attack us on our shore to this degree. And now it's like, okay, people, time to wake up.
Miller cannot help but remember those all too easily forgotten in the tragedy. In the end, Miller and many Americans refer to FDR's Pearl Harbor speech to convey the will of the American people.
But always will our whole nation remember the character of the onslaught against us. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
I'm Joe Costello of WFO Radio, reporting for CompetitionPlus.tv.